in Singapore on Tuesday, June 12th, adding that they will both try to make it a very special moment for world peace. Trump's announcement came a matter of hours after he welcomed home 3 Americans who had been imprisoned in North Korea. Experts say North Korea's denuclearization will dominate the agenda of the Singapore talks. President Trump's aim is the complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization of the regime. Kim, for his part, has repeatedly expressed a commitment to abandon the regime's nuclear weapons program, despite being unclear on what the terms are. Singapore has also confirmed it will play host to the summit. Its Ministry of Foreign Affairs said in a statement on Thursday that the meeting will advance prospects for peace in the Korean Peninsula. Observers say the Southeast Asian financial hub was likely chosen due to its neutrality, security advantages, and track record of hosting international summits. But why June 12th? Watchers say the date was chosen strategically, as Singapore hosts the annual Shangri-La Dialogue, a defense forum attended by heads of states, defense ministers, and high-level military officials from June 1st to the 3rd, while the 44th G7 summit in Canada will take place from June 8th to the 9th. Now that the venue and date has been set, the world waits to see if Singapore will host a meeting that ushers in a new era of denuclearization and peace on the Korean Peninsula.
The meeting in Singapore between President Donald Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un is back on following a White House meeting with the North Korean delegation. Announcing the breakthrough, Donald Trump predicted the 2 leaders would do a deal. He added he did not like the fact Russia's foreign minister had visited Pyongyang.
And we will. You people are going to have to travel because you'll be in Singapore on June 12th. And I think it'll be a process. It's not, I never said it goes in one meeting. I think it's going to be a process. But the relationships are building, and that's a very positive thing. Mr. President,
Kim has sent Trump a letter the president admitted he had yet to read. With the meeting set for June the 12th, he has plenty of time to do so.
Evening, fish. May 25th, early a.m. And I'm just throwing this out real quick for a heads up, basically. I don't know if you're aware, but when the Pope and Trump exchanged gifts, not only did Trump give the Pope a book on Martin Luther King Jr., the 60s civil rights activist who was assassinated, he also gave him a sculpture, unbeknownst to the rest of us, of a lotus flower, a blooming lotus flower, which immediately brought to mind to me this, which I'm not going to get into the symbolism right now of all this, but you can immediately see the sun implications, the golden circle with the dot, the apple shadow inside of the shadow of the black sun. That's what it represents, which is an eclipse. The apple splits into 2, the 2 become 1. Now, the lotus is the resurrection, and they are performing some type of giant ritual, without a doubt. For him to give him a lotus and the Pope to actually give him a olive tree sculpture or pendant or something of that nature. I'm just throwing this out real quick with not much research because it deserves a heads up, because today could be something significant as well, because we got Obama over in Berlin with Merkel there, and they are supposedly going to be discussing the 500th anniversary of the Reformation of the Church, okay, which was a seismic theological shift started by Martin Luther. Well, these two didn't discuss Martin Luther or the Reformation, which is a gigantic deal in the religious world and the Christian world. Instead, he gives him a lotus flower, which is a blatant symbol to the ancient Egyptians, which is who they worship, of death and rebirth, resurrection. And we got Obama at the Brandenburg Gate which is a gateway modeled exactly after the Propylaea and the Acropolis of Athens. This is the gateway to the gods, the partition between man and God, and they are planning on breaking that partition and bringing their gods into this world. Just saying, that's what they intend to do. And there is a ton of validity to this because it is prophetic. There is a biblical aspect to this. You need to look at all this from a biblical worldview, at least to some degree. You have to understand what you're dealing with, because when they start rolling out the real stuff, you're not going to know what to do. And if you're aware of these things, you know, the more you know, the more you're going to be able to help your family and help others to get through this and to find Christ, to find true peace that they're never going to find through men on this contaminated earth. Seek the truth. Seek your Father in heaven with a humble, sincere heart. Peace and grace.
We're going to talk about Trump's meeting on the 12th. It seems like it's got its life again. And then we're going to tie that into pet goat. So here's Trump saying basically that the 12th thing is likely still a go.
So we're looking at June 12th in Singapore. That hasn't changed. And it's moving along pretty well.
President Donald Trump.
So still looking at June 12th in Singapore. I want to tie it into pet goat, but somebody else posted this video, a.s.s.a.s.s.i.n.a.t.i.o.n, but I think he was mirroring it from somebody else. I'm not sure, Al, if you weren't, let me know. But I thought, even so, I mean, the points being made are pretty interesting. Listen to this.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Steve Fletcher with the Trumpet for My People.
Okay, so it's Steve Fletcher. Check this out.
Today's May 26, 2018. And with everything else that we've been sharing about June 12th, June 13th, and June 14th, I wanted to add this piece of information that June is what they know as the lotus moon. The lotus moon. The full moon has been given different names by a variety of peoples. Colonial Americans called the June full moon the rose moon, while the Cherokee called it the green corn moon. The Choctaw called it the windy moon. In China, it is known as the lotus moon.
And we know that Pet Goat 2 video deals a lot with the Chinese lunar calendar and culture. And he's going to tie it into this scene right here where we have the lotus. And I'll come back and give some commentary. But here's just a snippet. In the Chinese, the June moon is known as the lotus moon. So let's go back to his commentary.
Well, the Celts called it the moon of horses. The lotus moon. The lotus moon, the month of June, the moon cycle of June begins on June 13th. It's the dark moon that we see. I shared the other day about the June 13th, the moon is in Taurus with the sun right next to Aldebaran, the twinkling of the eye of Taurus. But at that time, you can't see the moon if we look at it in stellarium because it's a dark moon. But that is the beginning of the June moon cycle.
Okay, so I think a very important point. He's saying the 13th is the beginning, because see, people were saying the lotus moon, you know, and the lotus moon, the full moon, is not going to be until like June 28th, apparently. But what Steve was bringing up was that this new moon the lotus moon begins on the 13th. So even though it's not the full moon, that is the beginning of the new moon where the cycle begins to run its course. culminating in the full moon on the 28th. So, very interesting. The 13th begins the lotus moon.
Got people lined up for questions. I just got one more, because you used the word Christian. Have you ever asked God for forgiveness? That's a tough question. I don't think in terms of, I'm a religious person. Shockingly, because people are so shocked when they find this out, I'm Protestant, I'm Presbyterian, and I go to church and I love God and I love my church. And Norman Vincent Peale, the great Norman Vincent Peale was my pastor. The power of positive thinking. Everybody's heard of Norman Vincent Peale. He was so great.
Happy birthday. They're singing happy birthday. Don't tell me happy. I don't want to hear about that birthday. Thank you, darling. That's so nice. I don't know if I want to... I'm very torn on that birthday. I'm very torn. You understand me? I'm very torn.